This is In Your Business.
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 This is In Your Business for the UMSL Business Podcast.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Waldschmidt, and welcome to the UMSL In Your Business Podcast. I'm very excited to announce who I'm going to be interviewing today. She's the founder and owner of Early Bird Digital Marketing, which is based out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She's a nationally recognized local SEO expert and digital marketing professional with over 22 years of experience. She holds a master's degree in internet marketing, and she's also a Google My Business Gold product expert. She's a columnist for leading digital marketing websites such as Search Engine Land, MOZ, SEMrush, Bright Local, and many others. She received Search Engine Land's 2018 SEO Contributor of the Year, and for 2 years, her blog posts were among the top 10 most read articles on Search Engine Land's website. She is a recognized presenter and speaker at leading digital marketing conferences such as Traffic and Conversion Summit, State of Search, Digital Marketer, SCORE, and of course, the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. She's also appeared on the Today Show, CNN, ABC News, and many other media outlets. I'm very excited to introduce Sherry Bonelli.
Hey, Patrick. Nice to be here.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Good. So let's just break right into it. So my first question I want to ask is, what drew you to marketing, specifically digital marketing?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of a fluke that I got into digital marketing. I spent years working in traditional technology publishing, so actual textbooks and books. And so that kind of got me interested in the technology aspect of things. And then after I had my first baby in 1998, I invented a baby product and I decided to sell it online. So I created my first website. And then from there, and so from there, I decided that I needed to optimize my website in order to show up on InfoSeek and some of the earlier versions of browsers and search engines before Google came around. And so I poured myself into everything search engine optimization related. I read everything I could on it, and it fascinated me and became kind of a puzzle and a challenge, partly because I knew that if I didn't show up in search engines, I'd be out of business and I'd be stuck with a garage full of baby products. Right. And so I decided to add more and more products to my store. And eventually I ran my e-commerce business full time. And so I knew, the importance of having an optimized website in order to keep selling my business and products. So that's how I kind of fell into it.
That's so cool. So what made you want to start selling your own baby products? How did you get into that?
Yeah, I got into it by a necessity. I found a need, and so I invented a really cheap product. That product didn't take off, but it led me into actually selling other people's products. So I focused on mommy and parent invented products and sold those. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and did you get attention drawn to you through a magazine that was for mothers? Was that right?
Yeah, I actually got attention because we were selling an exclusive product. And so it was a really innovative product at the time. And so I was on the Today Show, CNN, ABC News, lots of great media.
Yeah, that is so cool. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. So I'm kind of curious, how has your current role where you're at now evolved from where you started?
Yeah. So I started, like I said, I kind of fell into it. I wasn't my plan to be a digital marketer at first, but that was my main role. So it was easy for someone to box and ship orders, right? That was something that anybody could do. But managing and optimizing the website, planning the print ads and the online marketing, that was something that I had to take on myself as the business owner. So I learned everything I could about everything, search engine optimization, how to write content, how to make sure that the content was found online. And so when I had to give up my business, my e-commerce business, after my husband and I separated, it broke my heart. But I decided that I could take what I learned from my own business experience and apply that to other businesses and help those small businesses grow their online presence as well. And so that's what I did.
That's so cool. So was it kind of overwhelming when you first got into it? Kind of delving into it and figuring out what worked and what didn't, especially being that it was on your own business?
Yeah, it was overwhelming at first, but things have changed so much. So back then, what you can't get away with this stuff today, but back then, the more keywords you put on the page, the higher you ranked.
That's right.
Then if you put white font with a bunch of keywords on it, you could rank better. So back then you could get away with that stuff and rank higher. You can't get away with that stuff today. And so I've seen over the 22 plus years that I've been doing digital marketing and SEO in particular, how much things have changed and how much the technology has gotten so much better.
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember Dr. Perry talking a lot about that, how you could do it back in the day, but now they're a little more strict about the rules.
A lot.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so being that you worked in so many areas of marketing and communications, being SEO, social media, content advertising, right now, what area would you say is the most significant that a business should focus on?
Yeah, so I think it really depends on what type of business it is. So for instance, if you're a national brand and organization, you're going to want to focus on, like, let's say you're a B2B business. LinkedIn might be a really good opportunity for you to focus on networking on LinkedIn and doing LinkedIn advertising, because that is where a lot of businesses hang out and put articles out and network on groups and stuff like that. However, if you are a local small business or a local business claiming and optimizing your Google My Business listing, that's going to be a necessity for you. And that's actually what I'm going to be talking about at MDMC. So it really depends on what you're doing. If you're an online e-commerce store, you have to do Facebook ads. You have to be on Instagram. You know, depending on your products, you may want to do Pinterest. Right. So it really depends on what your business model is. There's so many different variables. And I tell people you cannot and should not probably be on every platform. So for instance, I was talking with someone yesterday. They're a moving company and they're on Pinterest. No, a moving company shouldn't be on Pinterest. You know, there's nothing for them there. There's not an audience for them there, but they have a Pinterest link on their website, and it's ridiculous. And so it really depends on what your business model is, where your audience is. That's where you need to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. That's a good example, using the moving company on Pinterest. I was actually doing a project last night where it's using messaging channels, but it was along the lines of like, you shouldn't be wasting money and wasting time and energy on lanes that certainly won't help you. I can't see why a moving company would want to be on Pinterest or advertise through that, but
absolutely.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. So my next question is, what are some ways that, me being a student, but also somebody working in the marketing field, what are ways that you can keep up with the constant ever-changing trends that go on with marketing?
Yeah, digital marketing is changing all the time. Facebook is now coming out with strategies with Apple changing their iOS with regard to privacy policies and stuff like that. So there's always changes that are coming out with regard to any platform. Google changes their algorithm. They're coming out with a big algorithm change this year. So there's certain websites that I follow for search engine optimization. I follow Search Engine Land, Moz.com, Search Engine Journal.com. Bright Local is another resource as well for local SEO. Social Media Examiner is probably the best place to go for social media related topics as well. And then there's tons of other resources. But what I would recommend people find is the top one. Find the top 3 resources in whichever digital marketing niche they're interested in. Subscribe to newsletters and follow them religiously, because they're going to be the best resources. And then also follow the leaders in those industries. Follow them on Twitter and follow them on Facebook, because you're going to find out the news as it happens from those influencers and those leaders in those industries as well.
Right. So would you say there are certain lanes that are better for other companies versus others to kind of use as resources to grow and benefit from?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, with regard to every business shouldn't be on every platform. What they should be focusing on is the areas that they can excel at and focus their energy there and their money and their dollars and their employees' efforts on those channels that are going to give them the best results, versus spreading themselves so thin that they don't make it very well in any of those channels. Right.
Yeah, it's better to kind of focus on one than lose the kind of weight on all the different areas. I think it kind of like when a business expands, when they're that one local shop, they're putting all that effort in and making sure the product's right. But sometimes when it spreads out and you're getting to more locations, that quality can kind of go down.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's that's good to hear. One question I have is, can you describe a bad marketing campaign failure that you experienced? How did you know it was not a success? And then ultimately, how did you resolve it and learn from it?
Yeah. So, I was thinking about this, and it's not really a campaign, but I'm going to give you a good example because there's probably a lot of website development people that are interested, or designers that are going to be getting into the website field. So I'll give this as a really good example. So I was working at an agency, and we had just started up our website development team, and brand new relatively. And I got a call from one of our clients. Our web team was developing a pharmacist website, and they were going to add online ordering refills. And the owner called me and said, I had a customer call me and say why, she was having problems placing her online order for her refills, and asking me why was she even able to see their new site, which wasn't yet up. And I went, oh, crap. And I went over to the development team. They were working and developing their site live. So it was getting indexed by Google.
Oh, no.
Yes. They weren't working on a dev site. They were creating their site live on the internet. And so Google was finding that site and putting it in the search engines. And so I had to tell them, you guys need to put this on a dev site on a server so that Google can't index it, because people are finding it.
Right.
And so these were incredibly smart programmers and developers, but they didn't think about the whole SEO, spiders crawling, Google and Bing finding that site just because it was live.
Yeah.
So, that was one example that I thought was a good one to share with your audience with regard to, thinking ahead. There's interdisciplines that work together, and not all of those disciplines are going to think of the other ones with regard to that type of thing. So I thought that was kind of an interesting one.
Right. No, that's also a very good point when it comes to communication amongst the team, making sure everyone's on the same page. But yeah, that's really funny that some programmers were not using the typical way to write a code. They were doing it live. I just find that so funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. But what I found though is designers think differently than developers, and you really need that search engine optimization professional in the middle of the two teams so that they can all kind of work together. And that's kind of where an SEO person fits.
Right. And I have a few friends that work in the programming field, and there's a difference in intellect between the programmers and then the more kind of business or creative side of it. And it's good to have that one person or maybe multiple people that can kind of be that medium and work in between the two teams. So yeah, that definitely happens. That's so funny.
Yeah, it wasn't funny at the time, but yeah, looking back on it now, I was mortified when I found out. But yeah, ever since then they had a dev site that they worked on. So
definitely a learning experience for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So can you think of what was your most successful marketing campaign, and then why would you say it was a success?
So I think the most successful one was when I was running my own business, and we got on the Today Show and CNN and ABC News and stuff like that. Obviously, that was probably the most successful. And that one, I think, was obviously because we had a very unique product that nobody else had, and it was very controversial at the time. And so marketing that really got attention. And we did that through, at the time, print ads, where magazines were still around and still sold a lot. So we got that through magazines, as well as optimization through search engines as well. So that was probably the best one. That's
so cool. Can I ask, was it really overwhelming being focused on all these major news outlets?
Yeah, it was. It was very, very stressful. Absolutely.
I would imagine so. Yeah. Gosh, I'm sure that's just kind of taking a massive jump up to the next level.
Yeah. When I found out I was going to be on the Today Show, I went out and bought some alcohol, and
there you go. Yeah.
had to have a drink.
Right. I would imagine so. Just kind of have to take it in and breathe for a second to help a little bit. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So on Bright Local, I see that you're the former local search evangelist and have a great blog with over 55 articles. I really enjoy your writing style because it's really personal. It's very informative, and it also gives really good advice wrapped in amongst the stories that you're telling, which also makes sense because you're a great columnist for some of the leading SEO and digital marketing websites. But with all of your experience and knowledge in the field, was it a natural transition to begin blogging and writing about some of the experiences you had and some of the advice you give?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why, first of all, I love writing. I absolutely love it, but it's a struggle for me, and it's painful and long for me to write. My husband is like, why does it take you 10 hours to write a blog post, Sherry? And it's because I think about each and every word that I write.
Right.
But I do like to bring in experiences that I've seen out in the industry into what I write about. And I do like to have a personable tone. For Search Engine Journal, I'm writing for them a lot right now. And the last the last 3 months, my blog posts have been either the most read on their entire site or the second most read on their entire site.
Right.
So I love that. But again, it's a real struggle to think of content ideas that are unique and to be able to actually put them down in words. But it's fun to do guest blogging, and I would encourage anybody to do that if you have the opportunity. The challenge is it's really hard to get in with these larger, really well-known sites. They don't just let anybody write for them, and that's the real challenge right now.
Right. That would make total sense. So I'm very similar in the way I love writing, and it does take me a long time to kind of work through my pieces. I'm always finding I'm rereading through every line that I take. I'm kind of curious, do you have anybody that you will send something out to read over or kind of give an opinion on? Or is it all kind of in your own head?
It's all in my own head. And sometimes it's in my own head enough that I go crazy writing.
Yeah.
And kind of put roadblocks up in my own mind because I want it to be so perfect. And I think part of that goes back to, winning the Search Engine Land Award and having my articles, be the most read. I have this level of perfection in my own mind that if it's not perfect, I freeze and don't even want to submit it. So that's kind of my own mental roadblock. And I have a hard time with that sometimes.
Okay, I definitely feel that. And that makes me feel better knowing that it's not just me that has those issues. It's a common thing amongst writers.
It is, absolutely. It's a writer thing.
That's cool. Okay, cool. So I see that you're a SCORE mentor with the East Central Iowa chapter, and you've been doing that since 2014. How did you get involved with the organization, and how do you help the businesses that you work with?
Yeah, so I got involved with them basically just because I thought it was a good opportunity to help businesses. I love teaching too, and so I do a lot of webinars. And before COVID, we actually did in-person, training.
Right.
And so right now I do a lot of training through, the internet, through Zoom and stuff like that. But I felt it was a good way to help local businesses and kind of give back to my community. Because I've been so busy lately, I haven't actually had an opportunity to do a lot of mentoring. But when I was doing mentoring, it was all on digital marketing. And because SCORE, I don't know if you're familiar with SCORE, a lot of the mentors are older. And when I say older, I mean in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they don't know a lot about digital anything. And so they were really happy. Usually it's for retired people. So when people retire, they become SCORE mentors. So they were really happy to have someone that was my age. I'm not going to give my age away though, but that was my age that could come in and actually answer questions about digital marketing, which is what they really needed because they didn't have anybody at our chapter that could do those things.
Right. So does it, when you're helping these businesses, is it kind of a unique situation per business? I would assume it kind of goes back to the same thing with using the right channels. Is it kind of the same thing across the board or different?
It's very different from each and every business. A lot of the businesses are really, really small with very little budget. They're just starting out. They have an idea in their head. That's what most of the businesses that come to SCORE are. Very few of them are already established businesses that are just looking to kind of take their business to the next level. But most of them are just true startups that just have an idea and they want to get started. And so at that point, it's really kind of hard to say, okay, you need to spend $5,000 on a website, if you want to make this go, or you have to actually spend money to make money because most of them are starting off on a really shoestring type budget.
Right. So I would assume you kind of have to be picky and choosy with the kind of ways that you're going about the business and dealing with it for them.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, cool. So for a student looking to work in digital marketing after graduation, what is one solid piece of advice that you could give to anybody?
What I would recommend is start helping businesses now while you're in college. So get that experience now, because as a hiring manager, if I had any resume that didn't have any experience in it and they just were a college grad, I wouldn't even look at it.
Right.
So if you can find local businesses, whether it's a friend that owns a business or just maybe going to a business and saying, hey, I saw that your website, needed some help. I'd be happy to do it for free. Even if you do it for free, just to get the recommendation or the experience on your resume, do that, because that's going to give you real world experience that you're going to be able to put on your resume, and business owners are going to take you more, or businesses are going to take you more seriously when you're looking for a job. So definitely get that experience now, however you can get it.
Okay. So whether that be like an internship or just even volunteering, that would be great stuff to have on your resume for a hiring manager to see.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it's not hard to find, for instance, websites that need help with either SEO or web design or Facebook presence. And, you really don't have to spend a lot of time doing it either. But as long as you say, hey, I'm willing to do this in exchange for me being able to put your information down on my resume, that's a fair exchange, I think.
Yeah. Also, I feel like it would be great to have for your digital portfolio, like another thing on top of another thing that you can say, yeah, I helped with this, or I helped this business kind of improve their social media website, whatever it is in any way. I think that would be really beneficial.
Right. And if you can show any metrics, that's awesome too. So it's not just like how many more, fans they got necessarily. If you can show any tangible metrics, that's amazing too. If you can put that type of information in your resume, that makes a big difference as well. So
not only likes, but also just kind of clicks, any kind of updated info.
Yeah, calls. Yeah, how many? Did they increase sales while you were working on their project? Let's say you're doing multiple things. Let's say you're working on search engine optimization as well as social media, as well as helping them with their website. Whatever. Did they increase the number of calls that they got? Let's say you optimized their Google My Business presence, and you can tell from the insights in GMB how many calls they got. And let's say their calls keep going up every month. That's a win. So those types
of things. That's a massive win.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are a lot of ways to keep track of how, I guess like the success of whatever the work you're doing for them is visible.
Yeah. There's, most of the platforms themselves have insights that you can see and measurements that you can see. So you don't even necessarily need third-party tools. You can use them, but you don't necessarily need them.
Right. Okay. That's a good point. Very good point. Okay. So, my last question is, what do you want your legacy to be when you retire?
Oh, Lord, I thought about this one. I don't know that I'm ever going to retire. Honestly, I think I'd be bored if I retired.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever, especially us now, like working into the future. I don't know if we're ever going to retire, but yeah. Yeah.
I guess the one thing would be just to be known as a well-known search engine optimization, representative, someone that represents the industry well, and someone that is well known and has a lot of respect within the industry. I think that's what I'm striving for right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's really good to hear, especially when you're doing all this volunteer work, you're helping all these smaller companies that need help, and also on like the national level, you're doing a lot of effort. So that's really cool. That's good to hear that you want to be remembered in that way. That's awesome. Yep. So I want to ask you, what are you going to be talking about during your MDMC conference? What are you going to be focusing on this year?
I'm going to be talking about Google My Business, which is one of the most important things that any local business can do right now, is to claim and optimize their Google My Business listing. It's so important. And so that's what my presentation is going to be about.
Very cool. Okay. Do you know anything about when you will be talking? Have they given you that info yet? Or is it still?
No, I think it's going to be released, May 7th, I believe. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, Sherry, again, thank you so much for all the time and really talking to me. I really appreciate it. And especially all the advice you've been giving me. It's really helpful. And I know it's going to help some other people, in my case, students going into marketing and people working in the marketing field as well. So awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Have a great day. Okay.
You too. Thanks, Patrick.
Bye-bye. Talk to you soon. Bye.
This is In Your Business.
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 This is In Your Business with the UMSL Business Podcast.